right? Second one is wildcard, right? So what wildcard does, say maybe I have data, even though my data here is static, where it is always decline. Say, the data that I'm getting from different servers, uh, it can be declined somewhere in few of the servers, and it can be declined for few of the servers, right? So if I search with declined, it will miss all those events with decline. But understand, from the business perspective, both are same, right? It's just the way the logs are getting stored into Splunk, or maybe how they are writing it into the flat files. There is a chance that you will be missing out those data, right? So that is where asterisk comes into the picture. So say if I have declined, maybe I have declined for, all those things. What I can do, I can simply type DECLI and put a asterisk over there and put double quotes here. What it will do, it will search everything which is starting with DECLI. So assume I had a data declined for JIT, it would have shown up here. Assume it had a data declined for someone else, it would have shown up here. So that's the power of this asterisk, this magical, wildcard. But remember, this asterisk is very CPU intrinsic. Okay, so this is something, again, as I was saying, that I'll giving a smaller hints. So eventually, when you'll start to work on Splunk, it is advisable not to use this wildcard, because it's very CPU intrinsic search that it will create, and look for thousands or millions of record, looking for all the possible matches, right? So if you have no other option, then only go for it. Otherwise, it's not advisable to use or run on production environment. All right.
So
Next.
does it, will it cost, like it will cost more, or it will put load on the server? Like
yes, yeah, it will put lot of load on the server, because the moment you put a wildcard, it's looking for this specific text throughout all your events, irrespective of it is declined or declined for, declined at, declined by, it's looking for all those texts, right? So that is why it's not something that you won't be able to use it or you cannot use it. It's just that it's not advisable to use it, because if your server is not capable of handling, maybe 8 or 10 concurrent searches, it's advisable not to use it. But say if you have 20 or 30 cores on your server, then certainly you can go ahead and can play with this.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Next one, you have some operators and
one more question.
Yes.
So I mean, the data that you just ingested, it was stored in a text file, right? So we have logs. I mean, that are in other formats as well. Say there are some logs. I mean, they might be forwarded in JSON format or XML format, or things like that. So the search parameters or the way we search these logs, does it need to change based on the data, or the same search will work everywhere?
Awesome. That's a very good question. No, to answer your question, it won't change from your searching perspective. What Splunk will do, be it XML, JSON, or text, as I shown, Splunk will always distribute the data into individual events, like how you are seeing here. So consider that instead of this particular line, the one that I'm highlighting, it being a text, if it's a JSON, Splunk will put that entire JSON data here against this timestamp. So from your searching perspective, nothing will change. It will something that Splunk will take care of while parsing the data into individual events. Again, there is a caveat to it. You can actually, while the data is getting ingested, you have option of distributing that load or distributing that data into individual events as per your need. So for example, even though by default Splunk treated this one as an event, say I don't want Splunk to treat this whole thing as an event. I want Splunk to treat this one as an event and this one as an event. So at the time when I'm ingesting the data, I can put those conditions or those configuration to Splunk to create two separate lines or two events for this single line. Similar way for JSON, XML, all those things, there are default options available. So let me just quickly show you since you have asked. Where is it? So when you click on add data and you upload something, let me just quickly upload that thing once again. Click on next. Okay, so automatically, since this is a text data, you are seeing that way. But okay, yeah, here. So you can click on select and select source style, and you can select any data here: JSON, CSV, PSV, TSV. So assume that the data that you are uploading, if it's a JSON file, you simply select the JSON here. But output of that information would be similar to how your text data is getting visualized here. So Splunk will take care of that, breaking that data into individual events. So if your data has timestamp in it already, Splunk will take the timestamp and put it here. If your data doesn't have timestamp, Splunk will take the current time as the time, and then he will put the data over here, he or she, whatever. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I have just one follow-up question for the, I mean, you mentioned that say for declined code 300, you are creating one event type, and for order ID and status, you are creating second event type, right? Is it that, I mean, is it that a configuration that we do from on the forwarder side, or here on Splunk server itself?
No, any knowledge object, be it event type, be it your fields, be it your dashboard, alert, everything will be done on the search head. At the forwarder level, all these knowledge objects has no existence. As I said, forwarder is responsible for forwarding the data only. And heavyweight forwarder, you can do parsing, but again, knowledge object is something that you have to create on the search head only. So any data enrichment, any data modification, all those things something will happen at search head or Splunk central server location only.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thanks,
Oh,
Jeet. That
yeah.
answers.
One more question. So
Yes.
whenever we are adding any data sets or data so like you said, like we need to select the data source type as well. So does isn't Splunk automatically knows like whenever I choose it, whether it is a CSV, JSON, TXT, if I don't mention or if I don't declare what source type is it, will Splunk will be able to know itself like?
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
So for certain formats like JSON, XML, these are known formats, right? So Splunk will be by default able to take care of this kind of data set. But if you have any format which is not that popular, in that case you have to define those options, and you can customize it as well. So for example, even if I select here JSON, even though it's not going to show those options because the data that I have forwarded it's not a JSON in format. You can modify this JSON as well, right? So for example, within not necessarily JSON will have an universal. I mean JSON as a whole will have a universal formatting, right? But probably for your data there is a specific need that after third or fourth hierarchical level you have certain data that you need to not consider. So that option is also available, and this is something that you will be doing at heavyweight forwarder level. Remember, this is data ingestion part where you are doing the data parsing and filtration. So this, even though I am showing it on the search head or on the filter server, this is something that you will take care on the data forwarder level.
Okay.
This is different compared to knowledge objects. So don't get mixed up into these two things. One is where you are telling at the very early stage how to treat your data, and the second one is once you have the data available on Splunk, you are creating certain feeds or event types or knowledge to group it according to your need. So these are two separate things. But to answer your question, yeah, even if you don't select JSON or CSV, ideally, I mean, when you will move to production environment, you won't be using this UI, right? You will be doing it from the back end where you will be placing certain config files, which the administrator will do. So there you won't be having this UIs to select all these things. So either you create that configuration by default, or you have the option of mentioning that treat this particular file as JSON if you're already aware. If you're not aware, that is also fine. Splunk can take care. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. All right. And all right. Coming to the next one, booleans, add or not. So again, similar. So say, I want to see both error and decline, right? So this is how it will work. Oh, so I don't have any event, right, where both error and decline are present, right? Either it is error or decline. So I'll put or. So now it will display both declined and error ones. Make sense? Because see, I don't have any event, a single event where both declined and error status code would be is present. So if I put and here, it won't show any event. Whereas or means show me any event which is either having declined or error. Perfect. Makes sense? I hope that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Now, yeah, you have this couple of things. Not equal to means doesn't equal, equals means equal. And then you have less than, and greater than means greater than and less than. So I'll just show you one. So similar example, I can show you with code without typing anything. So I'll just remove this one, and I'll just do code equal to 300. So this will display all the events with code equal to 300. If I do not equal to 300, it will display me all the events which is not 300, which are not 300. So it will show 200, 400 ones. If I put a greater than, it will show me all the events with 400 status code. Right. So all are 400s. Right. These are straightforward ones. Right. You have 4 operators, relationship operators. Not equal, equal, greater than, less than. Okay. Any question on this slide? Are we good?
Good.
Yeah, hi Jit. One
Yeah.
question I have.
Yes.
So the search that you did today, that is a static code. For example, we know that the code is 300 or 200. So for field parameters, for example, in this log, if we are having different phone numbers, so they are differing. And we want to, fetch all the phone numbers because they are not static. So we don't know what equal to we will put. So how to handle these kind of situations? So I just want to put all the phone numbers that I got in logs.
All the phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
So let me get into this call center thing. So can you, if I understood you correctly, what you were saying that, say, for example, this is the phone number.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Okay. So you were saying this is not static. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. This will change for every customer.
Yeah, let it change.
Yeah.
Let it
so
change.
I just want to print all the numbers. So how can I do that? All the phone numbers only.
That is something you need to give me $1 million. So this is something that I'll be covering in reporting section. Okay. So this way you'll be able to get all your phone numbers. Okay. So you have commands as well that will show you that for this particular phone number, how many calls you have received. So you have received 3 calls from this phone number. You have received 4 phone calls from this number. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll show you that one as well. All right. So this one is good. This one I already have shown you that you can if you have a space in between the text that you are searching with, and if you have a space, you put it in a double quotes. But if we are looking for only a single word, you don't need irrespective of whether you're putting double quotes or not. That won't make sense. I mean that won't differ any the result that you are going to get. All right. So we are good from this one. Okay. This is very interesting one, which is to cover the 3 fields. Okay, let me do one thing here.
I do have a question here. Like,
Go ahead.
when we were searching for something, like for an example, decline. So, is the search case sensitive, or if we use any case
It's
tag?
not.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. All right. Now, Okay, I have removed the code one here because that's something that was not coming as default, and I showed you, I actually took that one here and put it over here for just to explain something. But the one interesting thing about Splunk is that when you ingest data into Splunk, this interesting fields that you are seeing, it would be dependent on the data that you are putting, right? So for example, on this particular data, since you have order ID, that is the reason why Splunk has, extracted order ID. If you had the different data with say order equal to this instead of order ID, it would have shown order here. So these are the interesting feeds as Splunk calls it, or we call it as search time feeds, because these are the feed which is getting generated based on the data and during the search time as well. But there are three fields which Splunk will create by default, irrespective of any data you have on your data. Okay, on your file. So this is very important. Okay, remember this. These three fields: host, source, and source type. These three fields will, and one more is there, that is time field, which is not available here, but that is also another field. Which these are the four fields which Splunk will create by default every time, irrespective of any data that you are getting into Splunk, be it Hadoop data, be it big data data, be it AI data, or any data. Okay, so these are the four fields. So what are those four fields? Time is straightforward. As I said, if you have time in your data, Splunk will take that time and will put it here under time. If you don't have time in your data, Splunk will take the current time as the time and will put the data against that time. Host, again, I'm repeating, I have actually covered it in the previous section. Host is like from where the data is coming, the server information. Splunk will by default will extract this. Source, this is basically nothing but the path of the data. Again, that is something also Splunk will extract by default. And lastly, source type. Source type is basically grouping of data. Okay, so grouping means even though this is showing it this way, I could have changed this to something else. Like I could have changed it to only web, this to only call center, this only to order. So source type is like, say for example, you have one server, okay, where you have two applications running. One is front end application, one is back end application. Both of these applications are writing logs, right? Now when you ingest Splunk, data into Splunk, for both of those data, the host will be same because there's both of those applications running on the same host. Now, how we are going to segregate the data? Say I want to, check only front-end application data. So if I select host equal to A, it will still show me both applications data, right? Because both of applications are running on the same host. So that is where source type will come into the picture. It basically a segregation. It's basically a grouping of similar type of data. So I can create two source type. One is for my front-end application and one source type for my back-end application. So that even if I select one host, I will have option to select source type. Now you might be wondering, like, I have source, right? I know the path, but not every time you will know that in which path, which application is writing the data, right? So that is where source type will come handy. Hope that makes sense. And these are the four fields. Any question on this? All right. So each event has timestamp, host, source type. Fields are also listed in the field sidebar. This is the interesting fields. All right. Quick reference to Splunk search language. So Splunk is also is something is kind of tried to replicate Google. So some few people call Splunk as Google of IT data. So the reason is the moment you type something on Google search bar, similar way you get suggestions. I mean the way you get suggestion on Google search bar, here on Splunk as well you will get this suggestion. So see, the moment I Splunk index equal to, I don't have to recall all the indexes that I have access to, right? I can simply, scroll through all this and can check, okay, I have index equal to tutorial. This is what I needed. Okay, good. Then probably I will some type, decline. So it will look that, I have any term in the data which is matching with that three letter that I have typed. So it will show me that in the drop down. Interesting, right? So you can type any other data. Say, let me type with something else. See, I haven't run any search so far with order ID, but the moment I type order, it's showing me all the order ID, I mean the order ID field along with different data. And that will be applicable for other fields as well. So I can type action as well. Yeah. Okay. So you don't have to, scan through all your fields. You can simply type couple of letters and that will show you all the fields which is relevant to your data. All right, that's pretty much from
But
this.
Jit,
Yeah.
this like a declined we searched previously, right? And it was kind of a wildcard search, like
Mm-hmm.
D, CLI, then star. So
Mm-hmm.
when this is giving a Google type predictions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
isn't it doing that wildcard search within the data itself?
It is, but it's not going through each of the data. The moment you store this data, it has
Uh-huh.
created a metadata for you all the feed for all the feeds.
Okay, so it is basically it will search into the metadata only.
Correct, correct. So
Okay,
you can have millions of records, right? But you will have only 10 or 15 fields max.
okay.
Correct. So it's not going through all those millions record to populate this search for you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. This one I'm done. Few terminologies. Again, time range picker I've already covered. Results will typically appear here, so it will show you in a timeline. So the moment I hit on enter or click on this magnifying glass, it will show you a timeline. Basically, this is a timeline. So what it shows is, say I select one maybe I select call center data. Okay. So what it showing, if I hover to any of the bar, it is showing that on 2nd of August 2018, I had 270 events at 4 a.m. So it's basically, timelining your data. 3 a.m. 290 calls, 2 a.m. 274 calls, 4 p.m. 39 events. So it's basically your timeline. So any data that you will search on the top, it will based on that, it will segregate it into time series here. Okay. You have search mode. So you have three types of search mode. You have fast mode. So fast mode is where you will be only interested for raw data. So it's very fast compared to smart. So say if I run this in fast mode and go to job, inspect job. So it returned the result in 1.233 seconds. The why it ran it so fast, because if you see that interesting fields are not here available. So by default, Splunk is not parsing the data to extract the field information. That's the reason why it's so fast. If I run it in smart mode, it will be little slower compared to fast mode. So if I go to inspect job, it will be little less because I already have ran that this particular search earlier. Okay. Now there is a difference. Why this is showing less seconds compared to the first one? Because this search I have ran already. So what Splunk has done, Splunk has cached this data. That is the reason why it's showing less compared to fast. Now if I run the first ones again, it will be less compared to the last time when it showed. See, 0.757 seconds. Earlier it was 1.23 seconds, right? The reason being, I am running now this search twice. First I ran with 1.25 seconds, Splunk cached it. My session is still intact. I haven't closed my browser. So that cache is still there with Splunk. So second time when I'm running it, it's taking less time. But this is different. You just remember that fast mode is something which will take very less time. Smart mode is, is going to take more time compared to fast mode, but less time than verbose mode. Verbose mode is something where your both field data and all events will be available, but it will be very, expensive and time consuming. So it's gonna take more time than all your mode. But this is very small data, only 4,000 data, so you won't be getting that much of a difference. Had I been millions of record, I would have shown you the difference. But nevertheless, for your understanding, that is how it works. So generally, whenever you will be working, you will be working on smart mode, because it creates a balance in between the data and the field extraction. All right, then yeah, this I have already shown you. This is your field bar where you will get to see all your fields. paginator, you have paginators here, like how many events you want to see here, that you can see a list. You can see the data in raw format. So raw format is like how it was in your text file, right? This is how it was written in your text file, that is raw format. List is like where you'll get to see in Splunk format way, and table is where it will segregate into tabs. So all these events or data that you'll be seeing will be in tabular form. Okay. All right. Sorry. Then where is I? Yeah. If I go back to my slide, timestamp selected fields events. So you have your selected fields as well. So that same host, source, and source type that you have available here, you will be able to see at the bottom of the event. But remember, this is again a metadata. This is not part of your actual events or actual data. This is just a metadata. You have timestamp here, you have events. So these are the timestamp and these are the individuals or events. So that is what is being written over here. Okay. I think we have covered it multiple times. Let me go to the next slide. Yeah. So one more thing, you remember that decline thing that I did, like where I type the decline over here, right? One more thing that I can do, I can hover onto any of this fields and do a left click and can put add to search. So what add to search will do, it will basically put action in the search and search all the event with action in it. So it's basically, instead of typing, you hover into that and you put it into the search. Other option is like where you hover into action, click on action and exclude from search. So it's basically will show you all the events. So it not condition will be added. It will show all the events where action is not present. So you see all these events are not having action in it. So it's just an alternative. I think I always prefer personally to type than going into each event and then clicking on it and then showing it on the search bar. But again, this option is available. So that is what it is mentioned here. So this is again is something is not relevant for this one. This was available with the previous version of Splunk. Pagination, that's fine. Time. So this is again, I have covered a couple of them. So let me explain it here from here. So the first one, presets are basically like where you have some predefined time values, last 15, 16, some predefined ones, right? And the last 5 are the ones which they call it as custom time range, where you can put some custom time. So this I have already explained. Like here in the date time range, you can put before a particular date, between a particular, between two particular dates, since particular days. Advance is something that I'll cover, but apart from advance, all these are straightforwards, like where you just mention certain time and based on that time, not just time, but date as well, hour as well, you'll be able to search your data. Okay, straightforward. It's nothing fancy here. Yeah, this is the one which is little interesting and something that you have to remember at the beginning. Probably at later point of time, you'll eventually remember all this thing. But this is where the advanced one comes into the picture. So I'll share a link with you guys where you'll get to see all these individual options. But just to give you some basic example, say for example, I want to search this data for last 1 year. So what I will do, I will type -1 y. So y stands for year, m stands for month, d stands for day, h for hour, m for minute, and s for second. So say I want to search the data for last 1 year. So in the earliest section, what I will type, -1 year. And as you can see, the moment I put 1y and hit enter, I have that earliest time as 31st of January 2021 as my earliest time. And if I keep latest as blank, it will show me, the current time only. Okay. I can change this to minus 4 years. Say my requirement is I want to search data from 2018 to 2019. Okay, so I can do that in date time range as well. But if I want to do it from advanced section, this is how we will do. So minus 4y to minus ty. So basically it's now showing 2018 to 2013. So if I hit on enter, so as you can see, this data is coming from 31st of December, sorry, January 2018 to 31st of January 2019. So you can play with this thing. You can play a lot of, these options. So there is a documentation. There is no hard and fast rule. Most of the time you won't be using at, this is very good, when you will be creating searches for your dashboard. The reason being, this same option you can pass in your search string as well, which is the next thing in the slide. So the same thing that you have given here, you can put it here as well, this way. You can put earliest equal to minus 4 year, latest equal to minus 3 years. So it's basically you are coding it on your search query. You are not dependent on this one. And the moment you put or pass this information in the search bar, automatically this will change. So if I change this to 2 year, oh, this won't change, or is it a bug? Okay, I thought it will change, but nevertheless, this is the one which will take precedence on top of this, because this is now not making sense since you are placing it. Yeah, it won't change. Sorry, my bad. So even if I change this to last 15 minutes, this will still run for minus 4 year, 2 year, right? Because the moment you pass it in the search query, this will take precedence on this time picker. So remember this one. Okay, are we good till now?
And just one question, like what is the data retention in Splunk?
Yeah, so by default it will be 3 years, but you have option to customize it. You can make it last 1 month, 1 week, 10 years. So it would be up to you.
Okay,
But by default it's 3 years.
thank you.
All right. Next slide. Yeah, this is again I have covered. So this banner basically shows the number of events. So this number is basically showing you that, let me remove all these things. These are not relevant now. So if I select just index equal to tutorial and search for all time, this banner shows you that how many data or how many events are there in that index. So this I have already said earlier, like 18,890 events are there in index equal to tutorial for all time, right? So that is what it is written here. Okay, this is very interesting one. So here you have option to check subset of data. So what I've done over here is, say, let me refresh this page. Say probably the application which is forwarding this data maybe was down from 3 p.m. Sorry, what time is it? 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Okay, and so one option is I can go to this time picker, go to date time range, select a date and then time from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. That I can do. One another option or shortcut is I can simply come here and can drag 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. Okay, so basically what I did I pressed on left key on my mouse and dragged it to 4 a.m. and that's it. So what now it's showing is that for that 2 hours this many events are there. So it's just a different way of seeing your data, and I think it's faster than going into your time picker and then putting those individual values. All right. Yeah, so that is it is. You can zoom out, zoom to selections and all those options. So I mean the 2 hours I have selected. Now you can zoom to that selection. So if I click on zoom to selection, it will display that 2 hours data. So now as you can see, now earlier the data was available for every hour. Those individual bars were available for every hour. Now these individual bars are for every minute. See, 4:09, 4:09 a.m., 4:10 a.m., 4:11, 4:12, 4:13, right? So that is what zoom in does. Zoom out is basically the reverse, and you can format your timeline. You can hide your timeline. You can show, this is the compact view, and you can make it full as well. So full is like it will show you the exact size of the individual bars, right? Earlier it was like in log scale, but this is kind of a linear scale using which it's getting displayed. Okay, so these are like something that you can always play around and explore more feature here, but these are some basic features which are available. All right. Oh, you have a